It's not the biggest surprise that the CEO of a company called Atlas Copilot is obsessed with airplanes. That's his word. Not interested in or simply knowledgeable about, which he is, of course, but obsessed, folks, obsessed. I am too obsessed with planes, but mainly it has to do with the food they serve and what they're going to do about the crying babies on board. But enough about me. Matt Burns has been an HR executive leading major change initiatives, a strategy consultant, and industry analyst, a serial entrepreneur, as well as a podcast host and producer. He currently hosts and produces the Thinking Inside the Box podcast. He is also the co-founder of Atlas Copilot, whose mission is to transform the way HR professionals, teams, and other people leaders do their work, leveraging the latest in generative AI technology. Well, that's a mouthful. It sounds like an awful lot. We'll learn more about that. Matt will join us to discuss his obsession with planes right after this. This is The Talent Show. Stay tuned. We're back on The Talent Show. My name's Tom Alexander, and our guest is Matt Burns. Matt, welcome.
Hey, Tom, thanks for having me.
Oh, it's great to have you. We're excited about this because this, I got to tell you, I do love planes. I'm a little leery on the takeoffs and landings, but other than
Mm.
that, I'm down. Matt, let me ask you this. Your obsession with planes, where did it originate?
I'm one of three sons. And as you can imagine, my mother at times tired of trying to wrangle three sons around a very loud and boisterous household. And one of my father's favorite activities was to take the aforementioned three sons and take them down to the local airport where we could watch planes come in and land and take off. And for young boys that were playing lots of stuff in the backyard in the sandbox and with Tonka toys and with all sorts of, cars and trucks we're playing with, planes was an easy thing to latch onto. And that love never really went away. Over time, I just became more fascinated with different types of planes and why different planes looked different ways and how they formed different purposes. And flash forward 4 decades later, and here I sit.
And here you are. So that all that playing with the Tonka toys and all that kind of stuff, I remember those.
Hmm.
That sort of kind of sparked it, huh?
Yeah, it was just good young memories and just being fascinated with the idea of big machines and what science could achieve. You think about this big tin of metal and how it's catapulted into the sky with hundreds of passengers on it. And to your earlier point, we're enjoying a meal and hoping that we don't have too much turbulence, but just the science, the physics, the aeronautics, all of it behind it was just for a young Matt was super fascinating.
Yeah, and I guess my first flights were, right kind of at the end of what I guess you can call the golden age of flying,
Mm.
where it was really, spacious and luxurious in many ways. Even the smaller airlines did their best to kind of make you feel it was a very hospitable experience.
Mhm.
Uh, Unfortunately, that's gone away. Unless you
Certainly
want to
has.
really, really shell out the big bucks, that experience is in the rear view. Um, but let me ask you, the aspects of aviation. What ones I guess would captivate you the most? I mean, you sort of hinted at these monstrosities getting into the air with all these folks. Is it the engineering, the experience of flight? In my case, overcompensating for my fear of heights. Something else? What do you got?
I really like big systems. I really like big, complex systems. And for me, a transportation company is a big, complex system. You think about what a scheduler would have to do at Delta Airlines. Hundreds of flights every single day, trying to navigate weather and airport availability and passenger demand and crew availability. I've had the pleasure of working a number of HR roles over my career. One of them was in a transportation company, and that was a part of the job, was just to consider the operating standard of the company. So for me, it's the operations. It's how do they move that many people so efficiently and safely and create a good quality experience? And to your point, we've now democratized air travel to where it's accessible by a lot of people,
Yeah.
but yet the quality of the experience has certainly dropped. But as a consequence, you've seen many, many more people flying today than they were 50 years ago. So it's just an interesting part of the process. I'm not as interested in things like private jets and that part of that lifestyle thing. For me, it's not really a materialism draw. It's more of the systems. It's the process. It's the idea of how complicated it would be to have to plan all of those moving parts at once. I like big machines like that.
Yeah, well, that's amazing because it's, it is something to kind of behold, really. I have a very good friend who's very much like you, really obsessed with flight, the idea
Mm.
of flight, and what it is, like you said, kind of putting scheduling all those thousands of flights a day around the world. It's kind of almost hard to believe, but it gets done, and with an incredible amount of success and despite our complaints, um, the people get to where they need to go, and it's pretty incredible when you think about it. Um, are there types of planes that you find the most interesting? Something that you really like to fly specifically, personally?
See, this is what being a nerd about planes is. Of course, I have an answer to that question. And it depends on the circumstance of what I'm trying to get, Tom. So I think there's a couple of answers I have. So I think first, I won't I won't be too shy about my Canadian pride. There are a number of planes that were manufactured, designed, and built in Canada that I think are incredible pieces of science. One that's received a lot of press of late is actually an Air Force water bomber that's been used in the California wildfires in part. And we manufacture them here in Canada. They're incredible for rugged terrain because we also have our own challenges with large forests and wildfires in this side of the border. And I think two aircraft, three ultimately went down from Canada to California to help with the effort. And I think that's a incredible story about, two countries working together. One plane that I really, really enjoy is the Boeing 757. It's a plane that's going to be going out of service in the next 10 years because uh, it's not practical from an operating standard. It's like trying to a pilot would describe it as flying a race car. It's incredibly overpowered for a passenger jet, which means you can get places faster and it's a much smoother ride for the passengers, but it's a terribly inefficient on fuel compared to more modern solutions. So you don't see a lot of airlines flying them anymore, but they're a joy to fly from a passenger experience perspective. If you don't like turbulence, you'll experience less than when you go faster. And this jet moves relatively quickly. And then I'm just like
What's
a lot of
replaced?
people.
By the way, I'm sorry to interrupt you, but
Yeah,
what's replaced this? Is there something that's replaced the 757?
depends on the airline. So there's two main airlines or two main aircraft manufacturers, Boeing and Airbus.
Yeah.
So Boeing would tell you that their next best equivalent would be probably their 737-10 MAX, which is smaller than the 757 by about 30 or 40 seats, but is much more fuel efficient. So it's more of the 737 series is the most popular single aisle aircraft ever built. So it's very easy for them to swap in and out 737s in the same way Ryanair flies all 737s or Southwest Airlines flies all 737s. That's what Boeing would tell you. Airbus would say something different because they have their own equivalent to the 757. And they would tell you that their 320 is probably the next best equivalent, and they would compete. But the truth is, there's nothing like it because it's not a practical plane to fly, given some of the constraints that airlines have put on manufacturers. So the reason it's being out is not because it doesn't perform; it performs wonderfully, but it's amount of gallons of fuel per kilometer flown. Like we're getting down to the science of it, and that's where it just doesn't make sense. But that doesn't mean it's not a beautiful aircraft that's wonderfully manufactured and it did its job for many, many decades. And then the last one for me would be just big, large airplanes, Airbus 380s, Boeing 747s. They're just this. How do you get something that large to take off from the ground without any people on it? It's just to me, I know the science, but it'll never stop amazing me to see that.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I think there's people who share that awe. It really is. It is an amazing feat. of science that we've lived with for decades now, and to watch it and see
Mhm.
these behemoths land and take off is really incredible. Are you yourself a pilot? Do you fly?
On the bucket list. So I am obsessed with my work, unfortunately, these days more than flying, but it is one of my promises to myself that when I get some more time, I'll take up the hobby.
Beautiful. Well, there you go. And we want to talk about your work a little bit and how flying is such a real component going from place to place and with everything you do. And we want to learn more about that, and we will on the other side right after these words. This is the Talent Show. Back in just a moment. Back on the Talent Show, my name's Tom Alexander. My guest is Matt Burns from Atlas Copilot. Now, Matt, I know you travel a lot in your work. Um, what would you say are the amount of times in a year, say, that you're flying around in a plane?
So not only do I travel for work, I'm also a digital nomad. I love to be on the move. So for me, last year, I would have done well over 50 days of flying last year.
Wow.
Somewhere between 50 and 60 days with off the top of my head.
Does the lead up out of the multiple times flown, and the thing is that the drill. You've got frequent flyer miles, literally and figuratively, right? You get it. Is it
Mhm.
still a bit of is it annoying to you a little bit to still have to go through the whole process of
Yeah.
in and out, security, and this and that? I mean, it's kind of got to get a little old after a while, huh?
Yeah, and it's stressful. I mean, let's be honest,
Yeah,
travel is stressful
yeah,
because a lot of things are outside of your control. And when you're crossing borders, going to different countries where they speak different languages, these are things that come into play. I like to be a little bit uncomfortable though. That for me is part of the enjoyment is I'm a little bit out of my comfort zone.
yeah.
I find that actually I'm having less fun when I'm comfortable. So for me, going through the process of to the airport, I would much rather not have to spend a 3 hour production to get to the plane. I'd much rather walk up to the plane. I don't particularly enjoy flying per either. Like I don't mind the idea of being in the sky, but I'm 6'3", and most airlines were not really built for people my size.
Right.
So I enjoy the act of getting from point A to point B. And at the same time, I just enjoy the idea that it's possible, that we've come this far to where if I want to travel literally around the world, that I can, for a relatively inexpensive amount of money, considering what is occurring. Like if the alternative is me walking to Egypt, it's going to cost a lot more resources than it is for me to fly to Egypt, despite the fact that it's very expensive. Just what is possible, what is achievable today to me is just I'm often in awe of it. And to me, it's like you can hop on a plane, you can hop on a flight, infinite possibilities. You can go somewhere new wherever you want. There's actually, Tom, I mean, I've told the story a few times. You have those like training sessions where you go to a hotel for a 3-day conference and you get like the breakfast that comes out at 8 o'clock in the morning and everyone's fighting for the, coffee and the whole thing. The
Sure.
question they ask for the icebreaker is something like two truths and a lie, or some sort of like, tell me something about you I wouldn't know, or one of those types of games. The story I always tell is that on 3 different occasions, I've gone down to the airport without a plane ticket and bought one at the ticket while I was at the airport. I had a budget, I had a time frame, and I thought it'd be fun to go to a ticket counter and say, "Hey, this is my budget, this is my time frame. Where can I go?" And like to me, that's part of the joy of flying. There's a bit of escapism in that, and a bit
Yeah.
of the art of the possible.
Well, you know what? That is, yeah. I've always wanted to have that sense of freedom to just, let. I had an uncle. My dad's oldest brother was like that. He and his wife didn't have any kids, and they would, often just, one way flights, and they'd come back from wherever they were going whenever they felt like it. And it was
Yeah.
something, it just had that sense of freedom. And if I was to look at your passport right now, Matt, how many stamps? Like, let me, do you have a running tab yet on how many countries you've been to?
Not enough. Not
Not
enough.
enough.
Uh, I
If you had to take
I
a
love
wild guess,
travel.
how many countries have you been to? Ballpark.
70, 60, 70 probably.
That's
Yeah.
amazing.
And it started out, I started it once you get it's kind of like getting tattoos. Once you start getting one, you just want to continue to travel. And
Yeah.
my family has always loved to travel, but I've in particular loved to solo travel and like to go into different cultures, spend a lot of time in Latin America.
Yeah.
I really love the culture down here. For me, it feels very comfortable and very much like home. And I like to see different places, but I've definitely evolved as a traveler. When I was younger, it was about the Kentucky tour. Let's try and do as many stops in as many days, as little days as possible. Now I like to travel for months at a time. I'm very lucky with the business that I'm able to work from anywhere I want in the world. I pick up stakes. I live somewhere for 3 to 6 months. I really get a chance to get to know the community, get to know the people, get a chance to put down some roots and actually get a sense of what it's like beyond just staying on the all-inclusive resort or doing the five most popular tourist destination pieces. So for me, I really enjoy that. That's a huge privilege. And I would trade that every day of the week for that over material things. I enjoy experiences and food and culture and music. And that for me is what I really, really, really enjoy. And I get to do that through travel.
Well, that's absolutely amazing. And I couldn't agree with you more. If the real plentiful resources were there, I think I would do that myself as much as I could because I love kind of when in Rome, so to speak. You want to
Mm,
experience it as a citizen, as a global citizen, if you will, rather than the tours. I've never been a big fan of the whole tourist thing. Um, I've told this story before, but at age just shy of 9 years old, my parents took me for 3 months to their ancestral homeland of Greece, and I was there 3 months in
mm,
1972. We flew over on Olympic Airways on a 727,
mm.
and those I don't think they make those anymore. But
Maybe not.
but we didn't. It wasn't the hotel scene. It was you'd rent an apartment. It was the whole thing was, and you had that experience of really living among the citizenry, and it was really
Mhm.
special. And the cultural aspect and learning the day to day. And if I always said if I go to other places, and I have been to a few, but that's how I want to do it. Just exactly how you described it. I think it's absolutely perfect. Speaking of you said months and months on going here, there, and everywhere. If you had to pick a really cool plane experience, let's say in the last 6 months or so, maybe we don't have to put an actual time on it, but it just one of the coolest experiences you've had flying. I mean, it could be either a UAP sighting or something else.
No such luck.
No such
The
luck,
coolest
huh?
experiences I've ever had. No, yeah, no such luck. The coolest experience I've ever had flying involved the smallest planes. So when I lived in the west coast of Canada, I had the privilege of living in a city called Prince Rupert. It's right near the Alaska border, so it's up quite north. The kind of place where grizzly bears, salmon, orca whales, commonplace in a beautiful part of the world. And we would often get from point A to point B with seaplanes. You'd go down to the harbor, hop on a seaplane, you and one other passenger, or maybe just you and the pilot, and you would hop on this and go over the waves, and then it would take off by some miracle of science, and then it would 15, 20 minutes later take you to your destination. But you'd be flying so low between point A and point B that you could see wildlife and you could see animals and you could see like just the interactivity with nature was so much greater because you're flying just over treetops.
Wow.
Those for me were always the really cool experiences because then you also would get dropped off in some place and look around and go like, I guess this was kind of a runway. I mean, it's a seaplane. You find a flat patch of water that has a place you can kind of moor up to at a dock, maybe. But you get up in the middle of these beautiful, desolate places. Those for me were always really cool experiences.
Yeah. Wow. It sure sounds it. Have there ever been any situations where you were like, "Oh boy, I hope this doesn't happen again"? Either
I've
from a technological problem or just a onboard nastiness.
I was I've never really had any like horrible experiences per se in terms of it. I mean, weather delays happen when you fly as much as I have. You're gonna, have weather issues or baggage issues and things of that nature. But I think for me, the one that was it happened a few times. It was a bit more heartbreaking. Was when I lived in Prince Rupert. It's a weird city insofar as the airport is quite a ways from the town, and the airport's actually on an island. So
Mm,
the way it works with Prince Rupert is you land on the island airport, you pack all of your baggage from the airport onto a bus, which ferries you onto a ferry, which takes you over to the mainland where the city actually is.
I see.
And I know I don't try and explain why that makes sense, but that's what they do in Prince Rupert. And they get two flights a day with about 35 passengers. So it's not a very busy place. But a couple of times, three times, we would fly over the city and there'd be fog socked in over the airport, but you could fly 3 minutes away and the city would be completely clear. And it was a 2 hour flight from the airport. So you would fly for 2 hours on a 35-seat turboprop, rattling the whole way to get home to see your apartment, only to have to turn around because there was fog over the airport and go 2 hours all the way back on that same bumpy plane. That 2 hours is already pushing it, but 4 hours on a plane like that, just yeah. And it's just because you're so close to getting home too, right? You could see it, like you're right there, but then it's no, I'm going to spend 2 hours to go back to where I came from, only to know I'm going to have to fly 2 hours again to get back to where I just
Oh,
came from now. So
yeah.
they're looking around for parachutes. They're none to be found. You just have to kind of suck it up and know the fact that you live in a beautiful place where the weather doesn't always cooperate.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I would imagine that's not the most pleasant experience, but one I guess you have to endure from time to time. My guest is Matt Burns, Atlas
First world
Copilot.
problems.
What's that? I'm
First
sorry?
world problems, right?
Yeah, first world
First world
problems.
problems.
Yeah, first world problems indeed. Matt, we want to ask you, we take one more break just for a moment here, but we want to ask you how your interest in planes might parallel your view and your approach to your work. We'll find out about that. Matt Burns, my guest. This is The Talent Show. Back in just a moment. Wrapping things up now on The Talent Show. My name's Tom Alexander. My guest is Matt Burns from Atlas Copilot. And Matt, first of all, share a little bit about, if you can, in a nutshell, Atlas Copilot, what you guys do, and then how maybe your interest in planes might inform your view and approach to your work.
Atlas Copilot is a technology I always wanted as an HR professional. It's meant to upskill and reskill HR professionals in the flow of work and contains the largest hand curated database of knowledge on the planet and 70 predefined prompts that people can use to do everything from create job descriptions to performance management guides to campus recruitment strategies. And we have a team of people that understand what it's like to be in HR, what the problems really are. And we're really trying to solve those challenges for those groups of people because they spend so much time helping other people in the organization. So we're trying to help those folks.
Wow, that's great. And
And in terms of parallels and how it fits into my love of planes, to me, artificial intelligence is like managing a big system. The amount of information that we are ingesting and working with on a consistent basis is daunting. And increasingly, our clients are asking for more and more breadth and depth of sources. Let me give you an example, Tom. So, most business literature that we know and like and consume emanates from North America and Western Europe. Harvard Business Review, McKinsey, Deloitte, Gartner, Josh Bersin. Pick your favorite source of knowledge. They
yeah,
emanate from Western Europe, North America, and they're probably native English speakers. There's some amazing things happening in Africa, and there's some amazing things happening in Southeast Asia and South America. And the fact is, because we don't do a great job of filtering those insights to other people, those kind of lay in regional insights or local insights. And what we've been trying to work with is how do we get some of those insights into Atlas so we can provide breadth of perspective, diversity of thought? And we're being challenged by our customers who have operations in all these different jurisdictions. And when they write a policy for leave in Zimbabwe, they want it to reflect local customs and regulations in the same way that when they write a job posting in Boston, Massachusetts, they want it to reflect the local culture there too. So we're really working with teams to try and help them solve these challenges so that ultimately they can spend less time doing manual administration and more time doing relations oriented work, which is why all of us join this profession to begin with. So for me, if we can fix this, we're going to fix a really, really broken machine. In my opinion, the HR profession is very close to, if not already broken. And we didn't just break it ourselves. It was broken because organizations haven't evolved in a lot of cases what they expect from HR. They still view them as a compliance and administrative function only in some cases, which is just frankly very dated ways of thinking. And then there are HR professionals who have as well not evolved their practice and remained in comfort zones that maybe were not digital or not data enabled or weren't anchored in science. And now with more information, we have to be willing to embrace more tools and new ways of thinking. And a lot of what my work has been, Tom, over the last 20 years, as first as a practitioner, but now more recently as a technologist, is helping bridge that gap. My first job in HR, I was asked to file paper in manila folders in a filing cabinet. That was my very first job in HR. I grew up with people that were very comfortable with face-to-face being the primary and most respectful way to communicate, and watched as society changed now, where most Gen Zs and millennials would much rather deal with a chatbot.
Yeah.
Now, we can lament the loss of the social skills, but the reality is, in a world where, as an HR practitioner, I'm trying to meet the employee where they're at, I have to be willing to embrace technology and new ways of thinking in order to do that, because that unlocks the opportunity, which is what's really cool for me, Tom, is for personalization. We can actually make workplaces more personalized and more human-centric and have more humanity in the workplace if we're thoughtful about how we deploy technology. If we're not, if HR people put their heads in the sand and leave the decision up to IT and finance, they're going to optimize the tools for efficiencies and profitability, because that's what they're paid to do. It's HR people's job to advocate for the employee and for the broad balanced scorecard. But in order to do that, we have to understand the tools that we're advocating for. So we've really tried to make Atlas in a way that's easy. But as you can tell, it's a very complex problem to solve. So we're trying to solve for how do we make it easy for HR professionals to have success. And that's where we are today, and looking forward to seeing where that takes us.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see where it takes you. We're in a very interesting year, 2025, which almost sounds like a futuristic a title for a futuristic movie or something. But here we are. It's 2025, and speeding toward the next decade. It'll be here before you know it. So much going on with AI now, and so just so many things happening. And we're going to see amazing
Mhm.
things in the next few years. And I'm just a hunch that Atlas Copilot's going to be right there, leading the charge, help leading the charge in the HR world. And I really appreciate your time, Matt, coming on and joining us and sharing this really not only interesting work dynamic that you've got going on, but of course the passion for flight, the passion for
Mhm.
airlines, and air travel in general, and how it sort of helps inform. I mean, even the name of the company, you're a co-pilot, so to speak. And thanks so much. Really appreciate it.
Thanks, Tom.
This is the Talent Show. We thank you for watching. We thank you for listening, and we'll see you again soon. So long, everybody.